if you want to be trusted, how about telling the truth? A message that we have today, especially for Dr. Death, Dr. Fauci and his cronies and his partner in crime, Dr. Tedros Ghebreyesus of the WHO. Well, just a few days ago, we showed you a video of the Senate actually admitting the truth that, all right, something definitely is fishy when it comes to the COVID-19 pandemic. They admitted that Dr. Fauci has not been transparent, and therefore they were calling for Dr. Fauci to give them information, which I certainly don't think Dr. Fauci is about to give any true information anyway. And so today, the same Senate is back again, and this is what they have to say.
This is an important issue that we need to talk. The American people have endured terrible things over the past year due to the shutdowns from COVID-19. And I'm very proud to sponsor the Fire Fauci Act, and I'm grateful to my colleagues here for co-sponsoring this bill because the American people deserve answers. The Fire Fauci Act will bring Dr. Fauci's salary down to zero and also will require the Senate to confirm someone to fill his position. You see, Dr. Fauci was not elected by the American people. He was not chosen to guide our economy. He was not chosen to rule over parents and their children's education. But yet, Dr. Fauci very much controlled our lives for the past year. Dr. Fauci, there is a lot of information that needs to come out on him. And as you all have seen with the emails that came out, that he owes the American people a lot of answers, but he also owes the world a lot of answers. These are emails that are very important that you all need to make sure that you're sharing public because the public has suffered greatly. Businesses have closed, small businesses have suffered. People have truly been depressed. Health consequences. People have died alone in hospitals and nursing homes. Children's education has been delayed by a year. And then we even witness suicide numbers going up, not in just adults, but young people, people in college, children in high school, children in middle school, and even younger. This isn't how our country was set up, and this is not how people should be governed. But yet it's Dr. Fauci, and through his advice that constantly changed, that is how things happened. You see, there's a lot of evidence, and answers need to be found, and answers need to be given. And the American people deserve the answers, and accountability should be held for Dr. Fauci and all of those involved. And if American tax dollars went to the Wuhan lab and indeed funded this virus, which it's very clearly coming out that this is very much a man-made virus in a lab, that has sickened the world and caused people to die. You see, people are really tired of there never being anyone held accountable, never anyone being fired. And that's why it's time to fire Dr. Anthony Fauci and give answers to the American people who, I mind you, this is the government that should be serving them.
I was honored to be Marjorie's first co-sponsor on this bill because I've said for over a year that Dr. Fauci needs fired. I realized this the first time he joined us on a conference call, and there were questions he couldn't answer and wasn't even concerned about answering. Like, when would we open the government back up, the government and all the private businesses? When would we open it back up? What were going to be the qualifications for that, since he was going around to every state saying shut it all down? The other question he never answered, still hasn't answered, is what are the bad health effects from the shutdowns? You need to take a whole of health approach to the response to this virus, and he never did that. He's a political scientist. He is not a scientist. He is a political scientist. He has admitted, and it's hard to believe, but he's admitted that he fudged his own answers about what level would constitute herd immunity. He said, well, I didn't think the public was ready for that number, so I gave them a different number, and now I'm going to give a different number. And never in between there did the science change. So we need to fire Fauci. We need to do the investigation of the National Institute of Allergies and Infectious Diseases. And my hat is off to Ron DeSantis, who saw through this fraud early on. Florida chose freedom over Fauci. Governor DeSantis banned Dr. Fauci and Dr. Birx from coming to Florida and speaking to the government employees there and giving the imprimatur of the federal government to force these private businesses and schools to close.
All right, so there we go. News of Dr. Fauci. I love the way how the truth is just openly out there and he can't deny it. But let me just tell you, the Senate is only admitting it now. But Pastor Chris has been telling you since last year, 2020. In fact, right at the start of the pandemic. Maybe you should have listened. But I thank God now they know the truth. So which way to go? I love the points that they talk about here. Dr. Fauci, who came out and he even said that... imagine, he was hiding the stats. Yes. So the same Dr. Fauci says that he gave different stats, another number, because he thought the public would not be accepting. It is not his duty to sugarcoat the truth of the stats. Sure. It is not his public to think on behalf of the public what they will accept and what they will not accept.
Quite said that, he thinks he could actually get away with that. Because when you look at science, real science, you don't have to use emotions, you don't have to use feelings. And then on top of that, you can actually see that it was something that was actually discussed and planned, because they were looking for evidence where evidence is not there. Remember, they were sent on a mission to go and manufacture evidence. And he was manufacturing evidence for lockdowns to justify lockdowns. And now we get to find out that privately he was admitting to say this is the wrong decision. So that on its own is a conflict. And then
publicly he comes and he tells us something differently.
Publicly he comes and tells something different. And since he is the source of the problem, we are expecting the world to actually get back to the new normal that the church has been praying for on the basis of this, because if he's fired, the whole plan goes up in flames. That means no lockdowns, no vaccinations, and it actually ends there.
That's it. And what, interestingly, after you have a Senate like this calling out for the truth, admitting the truth, calling for Fauci to be fired, South Africa's president went to the G7 Summit of Doom, by the way. That's what we've decided to call it, the G7 Summit of Doom, and then comes back immediately and locks the country to level 3 lockdown. That just shows you that that summit was really not good. Now, while the Senate is calling for Fauci to be fired, we are calling for Fauci, Dr. Tedros Ghebreyesus, Bill Gates and Melinda Gates, Klaus Schwab, all those cronies not to be allowed to speak to us again.
Yes.
They should not address the public again. So our call is #Fauci and his cronies should not be allowed to speak again.
True. In fact, you should actually extend to say #the Davos crowd should not be given a platform anymore.
That's it.
And, we only # truth now on the platforms, whether media, social media, because ideally when they speak, they always have that crooked tongue of theirs. And unfortunately, we cannot trust them. They hide truth and they feel they speak and behave on behalf of the public without observing science. Good. Remember, they were saying, believe in the science, and they don't believe in the science at all.
That's it. Now, the truth is really all out there. There's no way to hide. In fact, the pandemic has always been a pandemic, a debacle, a debacle. The big question remains, to all the governments that are still continuing to call for the mask mandate, what exactly are you listening to?
Sure.
What exactly are you listening to? Don't you see the news? Well, I suppose you're listening to the wrong news, but haven't you heard of Pastor Chris? Have you ever taken time to at least listen to what he's saying, what he's telling you? If you were in doubt or if you have been thinking otherwise, I suggest you change that and have a listen. Because imagine, in addition to what we have learned about Dr. Fauci's emails and what the Senate is coming out to say, did you know that the people that are vaccinated are no longer allowed or will soon no longer be allowed to be on long overhaul flights because of the blood clots and, of course, the spike proteins that they're emitting. In essence, people that are vaccinated have initially become a health hazard.
Of course. Remember, the internet of people is all about, it's hazardous to the people themselves. It's hazardous to normal life as we know it. And now they are coming out to admit the dangers that they were refusing publicly.
In the beginning?
In the beginning.
Yeah.
If you are being refused to, for example, board a long-haul flight because you are considered a flight risk on the basis of what connectedness to the devices that are actually there, then you're no longer a human being. And then you're also looking at blood transfusions.
You're no longer human. You're very right.
Yeah,
because you've just become something. On the flight, you're asked to switch off your cell phone or put it on flight mode. That means we can't switch you. If you're fighting, we can't switch you off because you're switching on Bluetooth, and there's nobody who can control that. Isn't that really sad? Anyway, we will continue to give you all these updates right here on LN24, so make sure you stay tuned to us. That's www.levelsightnews.com. Goodbye and God bless you.